What is up, guys? It's Will here, and welcome to the first ever Ask Will show. We're going to talk about sales. I'm going to answer your questions, and the show came from the fact that, and if you're watching these first few, you'll likely recognize me and be watching these because you've listened to the Salesman Podcast or you've been on Salesman.Red or blog. It all came through because I get about 100 emails a day with people asking sales questions, questions about money, and just lifestyle questions. And so I wanted to add a bit more value to your lives, hopefully by putting it down on video rather than emailing them back. It gives you a bit of the limelight, and hopefully it's just another medium and another platform for us to get onto and share our message. So with that said, let's jump into a couple of questions.
P. Pecanoli asks, beard or no beard during sales presentations or initial meetings?
So look, obviously I wear a little bit of a beard. The last company I was with actually caused a bit of a fuss with them. So, I mean, my background there is medical device sales. It's dealing with doctors, and doctors are half the time scruffy because they're rushing around. And the surgeons I used to deal with anyway are emergency surgeons and doing incredible things, but they don't always look the smartest. So that said, I thought, fine, as long as my beard looks smarter than the customers that I'm dealing with, it's not a problem. I went in and I got a bit of stick off some of the other sales lads for having a beard when no one else dared to have one. Obviously, I didn't think it was a big deal whatsoever. I wore it to a bunch of sales meetings. No one said anything other than a couple of the guys on my level internally. I then went to a national sales meeting, wore it, and I went to the head honcho and was like, look, some of the lads are taking the piss here. Having a bit of a joke at my expense. I've got a beard, I'm going to get in trouble for it. And his response was, look, we can't tell you not to wear one, which is fair enough. As long as you look smart, we don't care. So there's your answer.
Shrug F asks, how many calls or emails do you make before getting a response? When do you stop?
So this obviously is totally dependent on who your prospects are, what kind of product you're trying to sell. If you are selling something that's super high value and is perhaps a push for people to want to buy, like what I did, surgical equipment, if you can perform the surgery already, why do you need this new thing that does the same job but slightly better? Then you will send out lots of emails and not get many responses, but then the responses you do get are going to be people who are actively looking to buy. I think you're looking at this from perhaps the wrong angle. Salespeople especially, spam over email. They'll send out a template that's not customized that asks, blah, 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 I want to sell you this, and there's no value given up front. If you're in an industry where it's common to do that, such as the CRM market, the tech markets, where especially if you're in inside sales and you've got a bit of a struggle to get out and in front of people, you need to add value up front. You need to be commenting on blogs and posts that your prospects are making of the CEOs of those kind of companies. They're likely writing stuff. So you need to get in and introduce yourself before you try and sell them on anything. And I guess what you're alluding to, I mean, look, for me, for advertising sales, I probably send 5-10 emails that are totally cold, that I don't know anyone involved with the company that I'd like to work with and feature on the Salesman.Red blog and on the podcast. And from them 10, I'll get 3 or 4 good leads, say 2 phone calls, and we'll close 2 or 1, maybe 2 of them. So that's the kind of numbers that we're working towards. If it was any more than that, it would mean that either my product on initial glance isn't exciting and grabbing attention. That's something you can solve because you are that first interaction with the customer's expectations of the product and you as the service provider. But then you got to look at your email, and are you just asking for business, or are you doing what salespeople have to do and add value up front? You have to be value on your own. Forget the product. Most products are the same. Most products are becoming commoditized. If it's software, there's loads of companies doing it because the barrier to software companies is low. If it's hardware, there's companies in China selling exactly what you're selling, maybe slightly different quality-wise, but that doesn't matter to the end user. If they're well cheaper, they're going to shop on price. So you as a salesperson have to add something to the conversation. You really need to add something to it. So that's what you do first, to drop that number down, you add value, then you try and close business afterwards. And that will reduce the amount of emails you've got to send to prospect.
Malato asks, what is the best sales job, i.e. benefits, commissions, work, environment?
What a question, mate. So you're asking something that I can't answer for you. For me, I got out of my last sales job because it was great base pay, it was great commission, nice BMW, but I didn't particularly like working there. For me, the cost of doing hours where I was away from home, in hotels, dealing with both internal and external. Most people were fine, but there were a couple of knobs in there. I did not value the commission that I got on top of it more than what the time and effort and slight bits of pain that I felt doing it, which is why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing now. For you, it might be different. If you've got a mortgage, kids, and a car to pay for, then you are going to put up with more pain to bring in that commission. If you've not got commitments, or if you've got other things in your life that you like doing, if you like fishing, it might mean that you want to take less commission but be able to take a Friday off. And all these things are going to become more and more possible as time goes on, as salespeople become more and more valuable, and there's going to be less salespeople that are just calling people and trying to close deals. There's going to be more salespeople that are actually practitioners and value givers and value adders and consultants. Those people will be able to demand whatever price they want, because even if you're on 100, 200k, you can easily bring in, as a decent salesperson with a decent company behind you, a couple of £1 million worth of product. So days off, commissions versus base rates, company cars, all things like that become redundant when you're in the position of a consultant. So yeah, you've got to get the job, you've got to get what you do as a salesperson right in the first place. Then you need to negotiate. But I guess before all that, you need to suss out what is of real value to you. What would you really want in life? And I said for me, it was freedom with my time. So I work more hours than I ever have done before, but I love little projects like this. I love starting new stuff. That's what really gets me going. I'm selling you guys on watching this show, watching it 3 times a week. Maybe we'll go to every day in a couple of weeks, depending on how this is received. But yeah, I'm selling you guys now on this. So everything's sales. The point is, I chose a little bit of freedom over the time and how I spend my time. I dropped my pay from what I was doing to do this, and now that obviously is gradually going back up and up and up. So it's your priorities, mate. You got to get your priorities right, and then you can faff around with commission and points of percentage versus this and that later on.
M. Vermissimo asks, sales is fun, sales is rewarding, but we all fall into a slump from time to time. What kind of guidance or knowledge can you provide in order to stay positive and move forward?
So everyone has these ups and downs. I covered it in the podcast recently. We did a whole show about how to try and level this out, and it comes down to prospecting essentially. If you've got enough stuff coming in the top of the funnel, and this is the stuff we all hate doing, this is the prospecting, the cold calling, you'll get enough out the other end, which is all the good stuff, the closing, that it will just flow naturally. This is the effort, this is the easy bit. Once you put the effort in, you have the reward doing the easy bit at the end, but you will do that anyway. Most salespeople love closing. If you had 6, 7 o'clock at night and you had the opportunity to make a couple of calls that you know are going to close, you're going to make them, whereas you're not going to do this. So that's the first thing you need to do, is get that leveled out as much as what you can. To deal with it on a more personal level, I guess you've got to just set yourself goals. You've got to understand that money is just a lubricant between value. So I want a new rear wing on my MX-5 RX-8. It's going to be about 500, 600 quid for a proper Mazda speed one. I then have to earn X above 500, 600 quid from what we're doing here to be able to pay for it. So my motivation is, I know if I put in 10 hours worth of work, if I do a bunch of these videos, I'll get some speaking gigs from it, which will pay for it easily. I know that if I do work my ass off, get some big podcast guests on, we do sponsorships on the podcast, then that'll pay for it. That's the motivation that you've got to align yourself with. You've got to know exactly what you want. It doesn't have to be a material thing. It can be to experience things, to go to places, to meet new people even. It costs money over in the UK. I don't drink. I've stopped drinking about a year ago. I'm going to start when I'm 30, but I'll start back when I'm 30. But you need money to go and socialise. So all these things should then motivate you. If you like playing golf at the weekend. You say, well, I'm going to make X many calls, which you got to know your funnel again. You make X many calls, it gets to this stage, you close 1-2 business deals, then you get that amount of money, which pays for your golf. The balance is there, and you've got to suss that out for yourself. It's not something I can do for you unless you give me all the data and all the numbers. But yeah, that's how you get your motivation. That's how you stop that waning up and down, which is it's a thing that all salespeople go through. And yeah, with Michael, I want to thank you for your question, mate. And with that is the end of the first episode. So you can ask your questions over at #AskWillShow on Twitter, Instagram, maybe Facebook. I don't know whether we're going to set up a new Facebook page to try and track it. It's a bit more difficult to track hashtags on Facebook versus the other social media networks. And hopefully you enjoyed it. There'll be a bunch more this week for show. There will be some more next week. We're going to film them probably all in one chunk. And then moving on, yeah, let us know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments whether you want this as a daily show, whether you want it 3 times a week, or if there's another kind of format that we can put together. Hopefully it was of value to you, and I'll see you next time on the show.